These are the Indian and Vietnamese troops ready to fight the enemy together. The bonhomie and camaraderie between the soldiers of two friendly countries can send shiver down the enemy's spine. The fifth edition of the bilateral military exercise Vinbax 2024 between the Indian and Vietnamese armed forces is conducted from 4th to 23rd November at Ambala. This significant exercise being conducted aims to enhance the joint military capability of both nations, particularly in deploying combat engineering companies and medical teams for peacekeeping missions under Chapter VII of the UN Charter. India and Vietnam, both strategic partners since 2016 and are the members of the Mekong-Ganga Cooperation, created to develop and enhance close ties between India and nations of the Southeast Asia. Vietnam has supported India's bid to become a permanent member of the UN Security Council and join the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, the APEC. Both Vietnam and India share common vision on South China Sea, which is claimed by China after it created artificial 9-dash line. The 9-dash line is a U-shaped line that extends from the coast of China's Hainan Island and runs close to the coast of Vietnam. China and Vietnam have a territorial dispute over the South China Sea, which includes the Paracel Island and the Spratly Islands. India and Vietnam have attached South China Sea security to their political agendas, where India has actively supported Vietnam's stand on the importance of upholding maritime security in the South China Sea, resolving disputes in accordance with international law, especially the 1982 United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, the UNCLOS. However, China has earlier refused to uphold UNCLOS verdict on South China Sea. For India, maritime multilateralism serves to address transnational challenges and promote economic activities in the South China Sea. While regional middle powers such as South Korea, Australia, and New Zealand have been reluctant to speak out about the South China Sea and avoid seeking close maritime cooperation with Vietnam for fear of invoking Chinese retaliation, New Delhi has strengthened security ties with Hanoi despite warnings from the Beijing. Under the framework of Act East policy, India has grown increasingly determined to foster close linkages with Vietnam, as New Delhi sees Hanoi as a strategic anchor of its Southeast Asia policy. For Vietnam, forging ties with traditional and benign powers has become the cornerstone of its efforts to pursue multilateral engagements. For Vietnam, forging ties with traditional and benign powers has become the cornerstone of its efforts to pursue multilateral engagement. As such, Vietnam has encouraged India's closer integration with Southeast Asia, where Vietnam has served the bridge builder for India and the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, the ASEAN. Freedom of navigation, maritime resources, and strategic interests play a triple anchor in India's South China Sea interests. The South China Sea, one of the most important global shipping lanes, also facilitates India's economic and diplomatic linkages with Southeast Asian countries. According to India's Ministry of Commerce and Industry, India's bilateral trade with Asian economies in 2020-21 accounted for $78.9 billion and could reach $300 billion by 2025. In terms of resources, India has been carrying out offshore energy projects with Vietnam in the energy-rich South China Sea since the late 1980s, when ONGC Videsh Limited cooperated with Petro Vietnam (PVN). Both sides discovered two large gas fields in the SCS, Lando and Lante, of which estimated natural gas reserves were up to 58 billion cubic meters, with annual output averaging about 2 billion cubic meters of gas. Due to India's briskly growing consumption and strategic domestic output, India's oil import dependence had risen from 83.8% in 2018-19 to 85% in 2019-20, with a significant amount of oil imported from the United States and Russia. Abundant oil and gas in South China Sea could accommodate India's energy needs, thus reducing its import dependence on American and Russian markets. ONGC Videsh Limited has been granted a 16-year extension to its oil and gas production contract in Vietnam until 2039. The company also received a 3-year extension to continue exploring a separate block in the South China Sea until 2026, aligning with India's strategic interests. Regarding strategic interests, the South China Sea lies at India's edge, the junction between the Pacific and Indian Ocean, and is a strategic center linking East Asia, the Pacific, the Indian Ocean, South Asia, and the Middle East. The South China Sea is also a buffer zone, helping prevent great powers from launching a blistering attack on India. Having a firm foothold in the South China Sea could help India reduce its dependency on major powers In the face of China's growing coercion, India could harbor its strategic security in the South China Sea, a pedal to extend its strategic influence towards the Western Pacific. In other words, the South China Sea plays the Eastern Shield role, leveraging India's balancing influence against China. The two countries also hold an annual security dialogue at the Defense Secretary level and a joint committee on science and technology that meets periodically. The 14th India-Vietnam Defense Policy Dialogue took place in New Delhi on August 1st, 2024. It was co-chaired by the then Defense Secretary Girdhar Armane and Deputy Minister of National Defense of Vietnam, Senior Lieutenant General Hoang Duong Chinh. During the meeting, the two sides reviewed the range of bilateral defense cooperation issues and noted the transformative progress in the ties after the signing of Joint Vision Statement on India-Vietnam Defense Partnership towards 2030 in June 2022 during the visit of Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh to Vietnam. Vietnam proposed 5 focus areas for cooperation, which included delegation exchanges and dialogue, staff talks, service-to-service cooperation, education and training, and defense industry cooperation. The Defense Secretary welcomed the 5-point proposal and proposed cooperation in emerging areas of concern for both countries like cyber security, information security, military medicine, submarine search and rescue. The Defense Secretary highlighted the potential of domestic defense industry to fulfill capacity and capability enhancement of friendly foreign countries and looked forward to fruitful partnership with Vietnam People's Armed Forces and their industries. India has also assured Vietnam of all help in modernizing its armed forces, also offering the BrahMos missile as well as Akash missile defense systems. In 2022, India gave Vietnam 12 high-speed guard boats built under a $100 million line of credit as part of the expanding defense ties between the two countries. Vietnam is in talks with India to purchase BrahMos missiles, which could be worth up to $625 million. Vietnam plans to buy the shore-based anti-ship missile version of the BrahMos to counter Chinese aggression in the South China Sea. Coming back to the exercise Vinbax 2024, the validation phase of the exercise was conducted on 19th and 20th November 2024. This critical phase validated and training standards achieved in constructing force protection assets and other activities as mandated by the UN. The joint contingent also undertook rehabilitation and restoration tasks, showcasing interoperability and the effective employment of medical teams for humanitarian assistance. For the first time in Vinbax series, the exercise incorporated the extensive use of air assets, including contributions from the Indian Air Force and Indian Army Aviation. These assets were deployed for reconnaissance, aerial insertions of personnel and materials, and underslung carriage of engineering equipment, reflecting the advanced coordination between the two nations' forces. Vinbax 2024 represents a significant step in strengthening bilateral relations, enhancing mutual confidence, and fostering the exchange of best practices. The exercise underscores the commitment of India and Vietnam to global peace and stability and reinforces their readiness to address multifaceted challenges in peacekeeping operations. Thanks for watching National Defense. Please do write in the comment box which part of the world you are watching this story. Jai Hind, Vande Mataram.